today we are going to be reviewing Michael, the new film that just released yesterday as of the recording of this video, which I saw last night. Michael is the newest film in a long line of musical biopics that Hollywood is just so obsessed with making for some reason. I know some people really hate these musical biopics. I don't mind them as long as they are done right. For example, one that I think was done phenomenally, it's one of my favorite films of all time, we got Rocketman. Rocketman is just a masterpiece. You don't even have to be an Elton John fan to enjoy this movie. It's just an expertly done film. Another film that I would include in this conversation would be Better Man, the Robbie Williams biopic that released back in 2024. Why was he a monkey? I don't know, but it was a very, very good movie. Now, on the other side of this, a bad example of what I don't want musical biopics to be is Bohemian Rhapsody. If you were just watching this to listen to Queen songs for 2 hours with some decent visuals, I guess that's the target audience for this film. But that's not me. Like, I don't even know why I have this. Thank God that didn't hit Steve. Anyway, let's get on to Michael. I think the main takeaway that most people are going to have when discussing this film is simply the lead performance given by Jafar Jackson portraying his uncle. It is insane. To me, it almost felt, it didn't feel real at times. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, like, it was so good that it felt like I was watching, like, a CGI resurrection of Michael Jackson rather than watching a human being play him. Which, that's fully a compliment. I'm saying, like, it didn't feel like I was watching an actor in the role. It felt like I was just watching a recreation of Michael Jackson, which is what they were going for. And it was insane. It was such a good portrayal that never felt like an imitation, which is a very hard line to walk, where it feels enough like Michael to the point where it feels like you're watching Michael, but it feels so much like him that it also doesn't feel like someone trying to be him. It was just insane, and I fully expect Jafar to at very least be nominated, if not just straight up win the Best Actor Oscar in 2027. It really was that good. Speaking of standout performances, we gotta talk about Colman Domingo once again proving why he is a world-class actor. This man has been nominated for an Oscar multiple times in the past few years, and once again he came in to prove why he deserves one. He was so intimidating in this role. He was so amazing. His role in this film is Michael Jackson's father, and if you know anything about Michael's story, you will know that his father was very abusive, and they do not shy away from that in this film at all. Straight up, very early on, they just show you on-screen child abuse, and it kind of came as a shock, but it also just did a very good job of showing you straight up from the get-go, this is a very bad man. And Colman Domingo pulled off that performance amazingly, where he was so intimidating, and you hated him so much, but at the same time, every time he came on screen, it felt like I knew that the scene was about to instantly get better just because of how outstanding he was in that role. You hate the role. You hate Michael's father in this film because you were supposed to. Michael is terrified of him, and for good reason. He is so abusive. But every time that he was on screen, Colman Domingo was just knocking it out of the park with his performance so much that even though I hated him, like, I couldn't wait to see what Colman Domingo was going to bring to the role next. Aside from the performances, pretty much all of the technical aspects in this film were amazing. From the recreations of some of the music videos and concert performances, which were all done to perfection, along with the cinematography that I thought was pretty strong throughout the whole film. On top of that, the soundtrack obviously knocked it out of the park. If you're just blasting Michael Jackson for 2 hours, it's impossible to miss. So yeah, it was a free slam dunk, but it was a slam dunk nonetheless. One thing that I did want to mention about the soundtrack though, I've seen a lot of people who have been more negative on the movie saying that they felt like they overplayed Michael Jackson songs, and this movie just felt like playing a Michael Jackson song every single scene. I didn't really feel that. I thought they actually spaced out the songs pretty well throughout the film, to the point where I would almost get excited when a new one was about to start. At the very end, they kind of do 2 scenes back to back where it's 2 concert scenes, but throughout most of the runtime, I thought they did a pretty good job spacing out when the songs would happen. And even when they would happen, some of them would be used for montages, some of them would be a concert, some of them would be like more of a music video. Like, I thought they did a pretty good job and had a nice variety of when and why they would play each of the songs. So I honestly thought that aspect of the film was handled pretty well. But moving into the lesser aspects of this film, I think the one thing that really hurt it was the story. Now, I think the story is actually great on paper, but to me, it almost felt like they had an amazing idea for a Michael Jackson story, and then they just shot the first draft of the script. Because there's some great stuff here, and if you just break it down to the basics, Like I said, I think this is a very, very good story. But when it was actually unfolding, there were so many moments that I was like, oh, this is great, but I'm not feeling what I should be feeling here. Like, what's happening on paper is so much greater than the emotions that I am actually feeling, because I think the writing was just a little undercooked. The story itself was very good, but the actual way that the story was told and portrayed, I feel like needed just a little more work. Which honestly, that isn't even entirely the fault of the filmmakers, because if you know the behind the scenes of this movie was stuck in production hell for a while. This movie was supposed to come out like a year ago, but then there was a ton of legal stuff where they found out that they weren't allowed to use the court cases that occurred with Michael Jackson later in life. They found out that they legally were not allowed to use those court cases, so they had to rework the entire framing of the film. We heard they had to rework the entire third act. And I did feel that. This is kind of half of a movie. I mean, it literally ends with essentially saying Michael Jackson will return in Avengers Doomsday, aka Michael Part 2, whenever the frick that comes out. So I feel like had they been able to go with the original film that they were planning on making, it would have been a much better film. So I don't even necessarily blame the filmmakers for some of my issues with this, because what they had to do, essentially Frankensteining together a completely different vision than what they originally set out to make, I think it's almost impressive how smooth this movie is. But it's not anywhere near as good as I feel like it had the potential to be. And I think that is, once again, in part because the script needed a little more work, but also it makes sense why the script didn't get more work, because they had to do a U-turn after filming essentially an entirely different movie. But at the end of the day, even with my reservations, I did have a good time with this film. Which, I mean, it is very hard to not have a good time while you're just listening to Thriller and Billie Jean and Don't Stop Till You Get Enough for 2 hours. So did this movie kind of just use some music cheat codes? Yeah, it did, but it was enjoyable nonetheless. Overall, I would give it about a 6 out of 10. I would say if you're a giant Michael Jackson fan, yeah, you should be rushing out to see this. You're gonna adore it. But if you're someone that's just going in wanting to get a more whole experience as a film on its own, it might let you down in some aspects. Still worth watching though. Anyways, guys, that's going to do it for today's video. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to show me that you liked it by leaving a like down below. Also, subscribe if you have not already, because I'm planning on uploading on this channel a lot more going into the summer movie season. We have so many great films coming out this year, and I really want to get on here and talk about all of them. And if you want to see some of my reviews early, or if you're just interested in seeing more of my opinions on film in general, make sure to go follow me on Letterboxd, which I will have linked down below. But until next time, I guess I'll see you in the movies. Bye.